Today we have a crazy story of an entitled parent letting their kid get all over a cotton candy machine. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, my mom is constantly calling me fat. Ever since puberty, my mom constantly calls me fat. I'm 19 now and I've had 3 surgeries in a year. I've gained 10 pounds since my first surgery because I can't exercise. I was 140, now I'm 150. I'm 5'8", my BMI is 22. I really don't think I'm fat. But she's constantly been telling me things like, "You're really gonna eat that?" Or, "Don't eat that, you're gonna gain another 5 pounds. After my most recent surgery out of country, she kept making comments about me eating a lot. I explained that you need to eat a lot of calories after surgery. I'm a nursing student, so I explained all the macronutrients that you need. When we went to a restaurant in America, I always wanted to try, that we don't have in Canada, I ordered quite a bit. She said, "That's a lot of food, you're gonna get fat," and the waiter scolded her for saying such a thing, and the waiter didn't even know my situation. My Nana was a nurse for 50 years and she backed me up during the week we were in America, but now I'm by myself. It's been getting worse. This morning she bought a weight scale which we haven't had for years because when I was 16, I starved myself. I've since recovered. When I was 16, I had horrible anxiety and I couldn't eat, and if I did, I would throw it up. I lost 20 pounds in 5 weeks. Sometimes I think my mom likes me more when I'm starving myself. She does the same thing to my older brother, constantly talking about food and his weight. He's 6'4" and needs a lot of food. I love my mom, but I'm so grateful I'm going back to university soon. I can't live like this anymore. And anytime I bring it up, nothing changes. She never changes. She knows just where to hit me to make it hurt. She knows I'm depressed and I've been struggling for years, but she doesn't care. If I were able to talk to OP, I would just say, when you get a little bit more independent, and I assume at some point you do make that decision to go little to no contact with a person like this, don't take it too harsh when they try everything they can to either emotionally manipulate you into trying to still talk to them, or all of a sudden making you out to be a horrible person because you're ignoring them and you're hurting their feelings, after years of them doing exactly that to you. CJ Craig's Goldfish wrote, "This has nothing to do with you and everything to do with her own body issues and being vicious, happy to torment others. You do not deserve this, you did nothing to earn it. She does it because she knows it hurts you, and not because any of it is grounded in reality." One of the hardest things to do is stop valuing our mother's opinion of us. She's the focal point of our existences from the moment we're born, and it can be excruciating to look at what they say to us with a more distant lens. If anyone else were saying these things to you, how would you feel about it? Would you be as upset, or would you be more confused? Who the freak are they? Why does their opinion matter, or have any kind of value? Just because she's your mother doesn't mean she's correct about anything at all. She's just a woman, and from what you describe, a real jerk. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy stories of entitled parents, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, "Parents are controlling and threatens to break stuff I paid for?" I'm sick of my parents. I'm 17, turning 18 in 3 months. They're controlling as heck. Recently, I've been over my grandparents' house helping my grandmother go to physical therapy because she got surgery on it. I brought my PC, which I paid for, over to my grandma's house. Now yes, here recently I was in trouble for posting on social media, but it was content. Nothing bad or anything, just content on games. It's my dream to be a content creator. Problem is, my parents are so controlling to where I hesitate to even tell them what I'm interested in or want to pursue because I don't want restrictions with content or what I can post. I'm 17 and let me not forget to mention them threatening to break my PC just because of a game I bought, which is funny because the rating is M17+. I got all my stuff taken away for a month, but once that was over, a month after that, I went to help my grandma. I've been over there for a month helping. She's leaving to go out of town for a week, so my parents decided to pick me up without letting me know, saying I need to come home. I was going to bring my PC, but my mom says, "No, leave it." So I ask her, "When am I going to get it?" And she says she doesn't know. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I paid for my crap. How are you gonna tell me I can't bring something I bought home? It's controlling as freak. Now I'm home and don't know what to do. I honestly want to rebel and say freak them. They've controlled me way too much and I'm tired of it. If I rebel, it'll be all heck. I'll pack my stuff and move to my grandma's house. But I don't know if I can even legally do that. Plus, that would cause so much drama. Update 1, thanks for the advice. My parents won't let me get my PC from my grandma's, which is stupid. We're discussing it tonight, but I expect it to be bull crap, something like, why didn't I ask to bring my own crap? It's clear that they for some reason still don't trust me since the whole social media crap. I'll talk to my grandma about moving in with her. She'll probably feel shocked at me asking because I pretend that everything's fine when it's not. My auntie and brother also live there, which I don't mind, but my aunt also pays the bills. I'm close to both of them though, so I doubt she'll say no. I'm nervous about asking, but my grandma's kind and says I can ask for anything. It feels wrong, like I'm going behind my parents' backs despite their behavior for the past 4 months. My grandma's out of town until Friday, so I'll think of what to say. Leaving my PC might be the best option for now. I'll keep you guys updated. Now, I totally understand being an advocate for your child to be safe as far as what they put out there on social media. At 17, I think it's fine if you want to just post gaming content, but like if you start attaching your full name to it, you start advertising something that gives a little bit more personal details about you, it could be a little hairy. I understand why they would be apprehensive to it, but they shouldn't be controlling. Like, it almost sounds like they just don't have any interest in learning about what it is that the kid likes to do, putting in any effort to even try to have like a sense of monitoring that stuff. I'm not saying that they have to tune into multi-hour Twitch streams or something, but obviously there's just much better ways and healthier ways to deal with this than the way they're going about it. I don't think anybody ever growing up has enjoyed those moments where their parents are just ambiguous and vague about their reasonings as to why you can or can't do something. I don't think there's ever really been a kid that's heard, "It's my house, my rules," and has internally had a reasonable response to that. "Oh, well, actually, they're right, so okay, parent." Just an old baby boomer wrote, "You can legally leave now given you're weeks away from becoming a legal adult. Go to your grandma's place." I understand what you're going through. My late flesh oven was uber controlling and I watched her go bat crap crazy on my golden child brother when he told her he was leaving home to prepare to be drafted into the military. The Vietnam War was going on and the draft was the law of the land back in 1968. My brother was 2 weeks away from turning 18 and being required to register for the draft. Despite her violent rage fit, she threatened to report him as a runaway and have him forcibly dragged back home. I told her that as soon as the cops learned his date of birth, the law won't touch him and she will never see her son again. Did she really want to guarantee losing him for good? My brother left that day and never lived with a flesh oven ever again. She refused to listen and learn. Our next story is, Mom says she can unlock the door of her 24-year-old child's room and let herself in without permission because it's her house. I think this might be entitled mother, or maybe I'm just a crappy kid. I'm 24 years old and a college student. I worked in a bar for the last 2 years. And though it's a stable job, I still don't make enough to move out. I've had other higher paying jobs, but my area is just too expensive. And due to having moved to this state with my parents immediately after graduating high school and growing up a military kid, constantly moving and struggling to ever keep contact with friends I did make because of it, I had no friends in the area that I could just move in with. And I have too much paranoia to live with strangers. I've just been living with my parents until I finished college, doing it online because my parents didn't want me having to live in a dorm and be away from them, which I should be graduating next year, and then hopefully move in with the only person I've managed to be so close with by then. We just live in separate states right now, so it's taking time. Anyways, my parents have always been very weird when it came to raising me and my older sister. There's a lot of instances, I have plenty of stories, but this one just annoys me most and causes me anxiety. My parents' house is big, but every room except the master bedroom is pretty small. My bedroom can only fit my bed, dresser, and TV stand comfortably, so my desk and computer and bookshelf, plus my ferret in his big cage, are in the bedroom next to mine that's used as an office for me instead. I'm 24, so obviously I love having some privacy, especially since I spent most of my life being heavily monitored and coddled by my parents, specifically my mom, because I was diagnosed with Asperger's at 4, plus a bunch of other things that keep adding up as I see doctors. My sister actually told me she was a bit relieved about how little they ever paid attention to her because they were so focused on me. I was coddled so much by my mother that I'm only now learning things like cooking or doing laundry, which she still keeps me from doing because it has to be done this way, not this way. And when I ask for help, she gets mad and tells me to figure it out myself. Anyway, rambling all this to say our mom still hovers and overwhelms me with how on top of me she is. But the worst part of it is probably the fact that she'll let herself into my bedroom or office whenever she wants, most of the time without announcement. Reminder, I'm an adult, I'm also AFAB, and again, an adult. Though my parents don't believe I do things like that because I'm their baby who never seems interested and acts disgusted, but I act that way to keep my dad from making jokes and comments about me. So besides existing, I also do adult things in my private time. Obviously, I'll lock the door. But does that stop her? Absolutely not. So even if I'm in my office playing video games, I'll keep one end of the headphone off at all times so I can listen out for her moving around nearby. I won't have anything to hide, but my anxiety will go through the roof. Besides that, because of my dad, I hate anyone coming up or sneaking up behind me without my knowing. And she insists on my computer facing the door, so my back is to the door. So I locked my door to prevent people doing that. Like any human being, I also lock my door when I'm changing in my bedroom. And what does my mom do? She finds my door is locked, unlocks it, and lets herself in. There was this one time, for example, where I was in my bedroom in the middle of changing. I am literally completely topless, chest to the wind, when I didn't hear her approach my door. All I hear suddenly is the sound of my doorknob, the lock being switched from the outside, and then the door being thrusted open. And what did I do? I body slammed the door shut and nearly hurt her doing it. I don't know what it is, but even if it's my mom who insisted on bathing me until I was nearly 14, the thought of anyone seeing me in any state of undress, even if it's just in my underwear, feels disgusting and makes me panicky. So I'm not joking when I say I was hyperventilating when I slammed into the door to shut it and was quickly trying to dress. While I'm doing that, my mom is shoving into the door, trying to force it open, yelling to let her in and that she wanted to tell me to do something. I told her no, that I'm changing and she can't come in. She gave up getting in, mostly because I'm a fairly strong person despite never working out. Unless you count picking up tables and kegs at work for fun exercise. I just like picking up heavy things to see if I can. When I finally let her in after changing, she's huffing and mad with me, demanding to know why I wouldn't let her in. I repeated that I was changing and she said, "So? I'm your mother. I made that butt so I can look at it." I ignored that and said my door was locked and that she shouldn't just be letting herself in and unlocking my door. She responds with, "I can do what I want, it's my house. If I want in your room, then I'll come into your room. I can unlock your door if I want. What if there was an emergency? What if you were dying? What if I was dying?" I said, "I don't care. I'm an adult. This is my private space. You do not just let yourself in whenever you want. I don't disrespect you and let myself into your room and unlock your door. Don't do it to me." She just got mad and ran off, forgetting what she was going to tell me to do. Edit, thank you all for the replies giving advice and reassuring me. I will look into a door stopper. I just worry about her reactions. Since just a few years ago, I had a bad experience with my dad and locked doors that left me sobbing and in a panic attack on the bathroom floor while he pounded the door until it nearly broke, calling me a lot of things. So I get a lot of anxiety about my parents' reactions to being unable to get to me. I'll definitely try to get a stopper when I get paid next. I'm making this edit to answer and add some things that I guess might need to be mentioned. I don't pay rent. They want me to and were going to have me start last year until my insurance skyrocketed and so it's been harder for me to keep any money saved up. It may be some time before I can fully move out due to money and the situation with my best friend. But I've been planning to pursue my master's after I finish my bachelor's at a school less than an hour away that's close to my work and requires freshmen to live on campus. The original plan was getting an internship out of state for a month or so to get practice being more independent. But I didn't get accepted to my choices, so I'm relying on pursuing a master's now for a good excuse for them to allow me to live away from them. I'm not a legal dependent. Back in 2018, a month before my 18th birthday and right after I graduated high school, my parents insisted we get me an attorney and open a case to make me their dependent. I didn't want to. I knew it meant I'd have to stay forever, that I'd be stuck at home. I said I didn't want to do that, but they insisted it was for my own good and to help me. When we met my attorney, they didn't allow me to get a word in for the first 30 minutes with him. He made them wait in the other room so he could be able to speak with me, and I told him I didn't want this. He asked about me, lots of questions. Finally, when the hearing occurred, my mother broke down sobbing and telling everyone in the room that I needed it, that I was going to die in a ditch somewhere, her exact words, that they just want to help me. The attempt to make me a dependent was denied, as my attorney found me perfectly capable and happily wanting to be independent, and thought it unnecessary to make me into a dependent. My sister and I used to speak of me living with her, but because of a medical situation with my nephew, and with other family situations going on, my uncle's living with her and my brother-in-law to help with the kids in-house. After it being so long, I'm not sure the full name and contact of my old therapist anymore, only a last name. I don't even know the address of her office, as my parents didn't allow me to learn how to drive until I was 22. I may try to speak with our doctor about referrals, as I know the address at least. I'm just hoping I can find a day off or can find an in-person therapist, as I tried digital and was getting nowhere with the lack of privacy to speak with someone. My bank account is heavily monitored by my mother, and she sees everything I do with it. I've been looking into opening a private account. I just worry about a new card coming in, since she goes through all of our mail and I work often. Edit 2, sorry, another edit, but I forgot to add some things that I think I mentioned in the comments but forgot to add since I was going into work. There have been many occasions where, when I'll especially get stressed from being busy with work and school and vent about it, my parents have insisted I just quit my job and focus on school, and they'll take care of me and my bills. I could just stay home and only do school. They stopped recently only because I told them to their faces that if I had to be home and not work, I would go crazy like that and end things. Dramatic? Yes, incredibly so, but it's true. Some of the hardest times of my depression were when I was out of a job and trapped at home constantly. Turns out it's probably a mixture of depression and bipolar. We didn't find out I was bipolar until last year when I first spoke with our most recent doctor. And I did attempt but failed. Not that they noticed, just thought I was acting tired and told me to lay down. A somewhat minor thing, I think, but when I drive places, I have to let my mom know where I'm going. And if she says no, then I can't go. Same with trips. And she makes sure I'm going where I said by tracking me. The one time I turned it off, she called me freaking out. I'm definitely not trying to blame OP, but like the very last thing they said is almost in part being perpetuated because they allow them to do that. I don't blame them because obviously it's extremely stressful. You turn the tracking off, the mom calls them freaking out, absolutely off the chain. And I imagine somebody like OP, they're probably very prone to also getting very worked up, very anxious, very stressed out by that. So it's probably easier just to give in than fight against it. But unless OP does fight against it, realistically, it probably is only going to get worse and worse. Good Representative 33 wrote, I understand you are autistic, so am I. So I'm going to be explicit and direct. I apologize if this hurts you, but I think you need to know. Your mother is a narcissistic parent who has infantilized you. Some of the things you said regarding your mother having bathed you until you were 14, that is completely inappropriate and very harmful for you. Can I recommend joining the sub Raised by Narcissists? There are a lot of people on there whose stories are so similar to yours. Good news is, no, you wanting autonomy and privacy is completely natural, and there is hope and a way out and heal from this. Big hugs. Also, definitely buy yourself some door wedges and take them with you whenever you leave the house so she can't destroy or throw them out on you. You can get them cheap from a dollar store. OP responded saying, I actually enjoy people being explicit and direct. It's very comforting. The person I plan on living with eventually has been close with me for 8 years now. The only person I've managed to be this close with ever in my life. And it took them talking to me about things to realize how messed up certain parts of my childhood were and how my parents act. But I still have an impossible time telling what is or isn't normal or appropriate behavior. Especially since a lot of my coworkers who I talk about instances like this with would tell me I'm being rude and disrespectful since it's not my home and I live there rent-free. Because my insurance and car payments are too expensive and I make too little for my parents to have me pay rent. It really is a struggle trying to distinguish between normal and poor behavior at this point. I'm not sure what's normal anymore. Our next story is, my son can touch the cotton candy machine and you are stopping him. I, 19-year-old male, was volunteering at a local community picnic. I didn't have much choice in my position, but I was placed on the snack station. This station had snow cone machines, cotton candy machines, and a popcorn maker. It was not the most high-tech tech, but it was still nice. I was working with just one other person and we had some traffic. There were some incidents, like kids adding extra flavoring to their popcorn or throwing ice at each other, but it was nothing that wasn't manageable, classic kid stuff. Now enter entitled kid, around 5 years old. He ordered a cotton candy, I served it to him, and he ate it and left. He later comes back and asks how it's made. So I picked him up and asked my friend to make it so I could show it to him. Then he asks if he can touch it. The heating element that spins and spits out the floss, I tell him that it is really hot and demonstrated it with a small drop of water. He then says his hand is not water, so he can touch it. I told him again that it was too hot, and he did not like that. He then starts crying. But I tell him it's not worth finding out, and instead, he can scoop a bit of sugar and have another cotton candy for free. He takes his candy and heads out, still crying. Now comes entitled mother. Entitled mother says, "My son told me you didn't let him have the cotton candy." I reply, I'm not sure about that because I gave him two, one of which he made himself. She says to the entitled kid, "Then what's wrong?" The kid replies, "He didn't let me touch it." Entitled mother said, "Oh, that's it?" She turns to me and says, "Just let him touch, he's a kid." I said, "Ma'am, it's a really hot heating element. It melts sugar instantly, so I can't let him touch it and risk his hand burning." She said, "You have your hand near it and you're doing fine. It's just for a few seconds." I said, "No, I can't allow that. I'm sorry." The mother says to the kid, "Well, I'm sorry, maybe another day." The kid replies, "I want to touch it though." The mother responds, "Another day when he's not here." Entitled mother and kid then walk away, with entitled kid consistently nagging and tugging on her clothes. My friend and I decided it was done, but he chose to tell the event organizer. God bless him for that. Around 20 minutes later, the staff told us to turn off the equipment for a while so that we could have our meal. We put on a sign, turned off the equipment, and headed over. The events after this are from outside sources because I did not see this. Cotton candy machines are still hot even after you turn them off. Metal is still metal, and metal conducts heat. Around 5 minutes after we left, entitled mother lifted her kid to touch it. One of the event attendants then screamed at her to stop, which shocked her, and she accidentally forced her son's hand onto the heating element. Cue entitled kid screaming. I heard it, ran out of the nearby tent and checked on him. The event organizers and other attendants brought a first aid kit and helped him. As this was happening, entitled mother starts blaming me for the occurrence. She says, "Why didn't you turn it off?" I said, "I did. You can see the power's off and it's disconnected." The event manager replied, "I don't think they're at fault. I saw you picking up your kids and they told me you wanted to do this before." The mother replies, "Well, he didn't tell me it would have burned his hand." The event manager replied, "There are also signs on the side of the machine saying that you should not touch it." She replies, "Well, if I let him touch it first, this wouldn't have happened." The event manager replied, "Are you hearing yourself? Your kid just burned his hand and you wanted them to let him touch it? At least this time we're all here and you are with him." Entitled mother responds, "Oh, so you are blaming me? I paid for the ticket. You should be on my side. My son burned his hand and you think I wanted him to do it? I wanted him to be able to see the tool. He's just tall enough to see it." The event manager replied, "So you asking them to let him touch it before didn't happen? Him, me, telling you that it's hot didn't happen? The warnings on the device don't exist? You lifting your son and pressing his hand didn't happen?" The entitled mother replied, "If I weren't scared, then it wouldn't have happened." The event manager responded, "You shouldn't have had him in that position to begin with." The argument then went on for a while before entitled mother backed down and took entitled kid to, presumably, a hospital. The event manager and most of the attendants were on our side. I'll see what the aftermath will be in a few days, but dang. Wanting to touch a heating element was not something I even imagined was a possibility, let alone from a parent. P.S. At the end of the event, both us, my friend and I, were given some marinated chicken to take home for our transgressions. Well, I'm just glad OP got to take home some marinated chicken and not the burnt flesh from the poor kid's hands. The one person that's supposed to save this 5-ish-year-old kid is too dumb to save them. Blue Oolong wrote, "Somebody should have called for 911. Then there would be an official report somewhere on what happened. The mother seems like the type who will sue your event for injuring her child. OP responded saying there are no real grounds for her to do it since it was out of reach of children and the local municipality was alerted of this event occurring. If there's any legal ramifications, I will definitely go off in another post, but for now, it's alright. Our next story is, how do I get them to listen to me? How? My mom is a teacher. She's supposed to be focusing on her university and becoming a professor or whatever, but no, she decided that she wants to teach my class this year. Today, my class went to school to get to know each other better and she taught. It was horrible. I was liked at the beginning of the day, then the second she started teaching, I could see people's feelings towards me change, and the looks I got from kids who were getting along with me weren't the same. I've fought over this with my parents before, but they say that I shouldn't care and that I'm stupid for caring. These are the last years of school for me. I want to be happy in class. They don't care if I'm going to be hated. They said if I'm gonna be, then I shouldn't care because the other kids' parents aren't as successful as mine. I don't want her to teach my class. I've fought and cried over it for 10 hours straight so far, and they don't care. They say that they do care about me. Okay. But if they did it all, then wouldn't she have given up the class already? This sounds dramatic, but I've just been wrecked over this and they can see it. They say that they don't want me crying all the time, and if not being liked is going to affect me this much, then I should just go to school out of town or drop out. They think I'm stupid for caring what other people think, but middle school wasn't great for me. I just want to have friends and get along with my class for the last 3 god-dang years of school. They don't care. And the only reason she's teaching me is because my dad said so. And he has a control issue, so if you don't listen to him, he loses his freaking mind. I can't do this. It was going so well until she walked in class. How do I get them to just listen to me? How? Also, it's not a money issue at all. I just don't want her to teach my class. I'm obviously freaked up over this, but they're calling me stupid for caring. I'm a teenager, of course I'm gonna care. I do admit it's ridiculous how sad I've been over this, but if it's affecting me this much, shouldn't they just stop? I think if there's a chance for OP to get switched out of class, they should definitely speak up, especially if they have like a school counselor or just even straight go to the principal. I would certainly hope that somebody in some position who can pull some strings and get OP transferred out of that class would hear OP out, understand the damage it's doing to them both personally and socially, and do something about it. Lisa Knows Best wrote, ask the principal or the equivalent wherever you are to switch you out of her class. You shouldn't have your mother as a teacher. It's a conflict of interest in a sense. Online schooling maybe? Research your options. Good luck and please try to work through it. Talk to a guidance counselor if you have one. OP responded saying, the whole point of me not wanting my mom to teach me is my social life. She doesn't care how it affects me at all. I might talk to the principal. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy entitled parent story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.